everyone, this is Steve Weintraub with Collider here at the Collider Media Center studio, whatever the hell we're calling it this year.
You're at the Collider Media Studio at the Cinema Center.
Right, we're at the Collider Media Studio at the Cinema Center, and that's what Perry just said. This is all being used. Don't kid yourself.
This is the good stuff.
Yeah, exactly. A huge thank you to the Cinema Center here in Austin. I am thrilled to be talking to you guys for Magic Hour. How are you both doing?
I'm great.
We're pumped to be here.
Yeah.
We shot this movie like a year and a half ago, and this is the first time we're bringing it to audiences, so that's a cool thing.
And I think that South by is like kind of the ideal place to bring it into the world. It's like fun and dreamy and a little deserty.
Did you actually think about, do we want to go to Sundance? Do we want to go to South by? Like, did you have that conversation?
Yes, but it's not like we get to choose, you know? But I think South by was always sort of what we had held as like, it felt like the right fit for this movie.
There's like a spiritual nature of what South by was for us, I think going all the way back to the Puffy Chair, which was 20 years ago. And I remember being at Sundance with the Puffy Chair, and we premiered very late at the festival. We were like one of the last movies they accepted, for sure, and they let us know that. And you'll premiere on Wednesday when everybody's gone. And like a couple of people had seen it, and it just started to whisper, but it really wasn't until South by that people saw the movie. All the press and all the buyers came and saw the movie, and it started to have its moment. So I don't know. I don't really like believe in that sort of thing, but like it is interesting that like 20 years later, we're coming back here with this, and which is in many ways kind of a return to the original principles of filmmaking that we started with, which was like, let's make a movie that is deeply personal to us, that is not considering marketability whatsoever, as just about the art, and let's do it with our cash and with no obstacles.
I mean, it really does feel like a return. I think when we all made the Puffy Chair together, you know, we weren't in the business. We weren't a part of it. We didn't expect to be invited in as graciously as we were, but that gave us such a freedom of being like, well, if we're not in that business, we don't have to play by their rules. We'll sort of do it our way and make it up as we go along. And it gave us so much creative freedom in doing that. And I think there is something to be said about, you know, the business is a bit in shambles. I think fewer and fewer films are being financed, fewer movies are being bought, fewer, you know, it's just like all the rules are out the window again.
Yeah,
and
so
if
what's it all about
If you
now?
then are just, I don't know, it's now on your terms all over again. And if you're not doing it to make anyone else happy, you're just doing it to make yourself happy. And what a way to make a movie.
Yeah, I have so many follow-ups to this, but everyone watching this won't have seen the movie yet. So how have you been describing it to like friends and family, or what do you want to tell people about it?
I think ultimately it's a love story.
Yeah, I mean, there's like a simple log line that like is, you know, an artful dodge of some of the plot turns in the movie that we like to keep under wraps. Shh.
This is just between us, you guys.
Shh. But you know, it's about a couple who, you know, are experiencing a really, really rough patch in their relationship, you know, and they head out to the desert to see if they can work it out. But it's about a lot more than that. And it was a movie that was birthed, like I'd say about 5 years ago. Katie and I, we do this thing where we spend lovely Christmas holidays with our kids and our family, and then we go on a vacation and we have this big party at New Year's, and then by the time like January 3rd rolls around, we're like, get us the fuck away from everybody. And we go away, and Katie and I go away for like 3 or 4 days together, and we talk about our year, talk about, oh yeah, we're married, I love you, this is what we're doing, and what are our principles, you know. And Katie, I think very squarely, was just like, I miss doing what we used to do when there were no obstacles and we would just go make things. And we both have gotten to this place, and we're both, I don't want to say guilty of it, but there's this thing that happens where, because we are nearer to finances and we have access to that, it makes you question how you should make something, as opposed to 20 years ago when we made the Puffy Chair, there was only one option: go into the credit card, make the movie, and go. And it really connected with me. It was just like, I just want to make something that like I feel really great about doing as an actor and as a writer and director. and we had a 6-hour drive back from where we were up the coast to home. And so,
And it was right after New Year's in 2020. So really anything was possible.
yeah, exactly. Everything was possible for the next 2 months.
The world was our oyster,
Yeah.
you know?
And then we pulled out our little notes app on our phone, and we just started talking about this movie idea. And as usual, it started more with like, what's interesting to us? What do we uniquely have to offer, right? And what is that now? There's 500 movies and TV shows on your queue right now. How can we make something that's just not another burden for you that you feel like you have to watch? That's the first question we ask. And the thing that spilled out of our mouth first was our codependency. And it's something that we talk a lot about and we are confused by and conflicted about, which
A lot of people had some real judgment about it real early on in our relationship, and we were both like,
I did too. I mean, I think we all, it's
Nah.
conflicted.
I don't actually know how codependent you are.
Yeah, so
Pretty-
we're very
pretty darn
codependent.
codependent.
Yeah, and we talk about it. We work together.
I mean,
we
we've
live
literally
together.
been
we-
making movies together for 20 years.
and
so.
it's this thing that on one hand, this is what fascinates me about it. On one hand, it is a 4-letter word. You shouldn't be codependent. You go to therapy so you can stand on your own, and you elect to be with someone, but you have your boundaries up, and we're both our own people, and that all sounds great. But at the same time, like, how beautiful to be so inextricably linked with a human. Isn't that the romance of everything we read about? Like starting with Wuthering Heights, you know, like this is what I've always wanted. It's my dream.
Can I just say, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Like,
So-
if you guys are happy, then that's fantastic.
Yes. But
I mean,
what
like,
happens?
is it super healthy that, like,
Yeah.
after 5 days of being apart, we're like not the best version of ourselves?
That's the hard part. Is like I go away. I don't want to go away for 4 days because I don't want to be away from Katie. Some of it's our kids and our dogs and our home and all that stuff.
It's a lot
And
about the dogs.
It's not simple, and there's a darker side to it. So we really started with that concept, and we said, well, how do we do this in a way that's not just another Mike Leigh or Cassavetes movie from the 70s? And that's when we sort of came up with this plot device that we're not saying anything about, but allowed us to explore it from sort of like a circuitous angle. And that's really, and then
Yeah.
over the next 5
And
hours,
it was
we
really
just,
fun to tell a story together that was us, but it wasn't us, but it's also not us. Like, there's so...
well, you cast somebody else, so let's face it. Let's just talk about it.
It was a lot of conversations about casting.
Right. So the first thing I want
Fucking begging for roles after 20 years, dude. It's brutal.
You have been riding
It's
my
just
coattails,
brutal.
and I'm just... It's time that I set a boundary. Really.
I want to ask. So the movie takes place in the desert at this beautiful home, and when I was looking through the credits, which are pretty short, which tells you it was done indie. One of the things I was wondering is, did you rent the house on Airbnb and then shoot the movie and ask for permission, or never ask for permission?
No, you have to ask for permission first.
So let me be clear.
I would love to say
we
that.
have to ask for permission first because we've been doing this for a long time and we have to be responsible. But if your
last name is Duplass,
if you're just starting out, don't ask for permission.
But if your last
Just go
name is
do it.
Duplass and you're getting an Airbnb for 20 days and you're like, and there's 10 people in it,
They're like, I know what you're doing.
I know what you're doing.
I read.
Did they say that?
They're like, I look at Collider. I know.
I'm an avid collector.
Wait. So what happened with? So you asked them and they said yes.
Yeah, so we found the house on Airbnb. That part's true. And it looked amazing and it seemed very perfect. So we reached out to him personally and I said, hey, listen, we're very responsible. I'm a middle-aged woman who loves interior design. I will love and respect your house as if it was my own. And they were lovely about it.
So I do want to ask. You are starring, directing, co-writing. Like, what is it like? And you're delivering. There's a lot of emotional stuff going on. What is it like on set? How do you know you have the take that you want when you are in the middle of like you know what I mean? Like, you're delivering this emotional thing. And did I get it?
Well, the truth is like, I don't, but I spent so much time and energy creating like the environment on set and picking my team and my support system, and so much time in pre-production talking about what we wanted out of every scene and every moment. And so I really said to them, like, going into this, you need to tell me. Like, I won't know. I am either going to think everything's terrible or wonderful, right? Like it's going to be one or the other. And you need to be my eyes, and I need to be able to look up at you after I'm like, Charlie. And you have to be like, no, we got to go
I don't think
again.
you're giving yourself enough credit. I don't think that happened. That was some of the time in the more deeper emotional moments, but there are a lot of times where you were very clearly in control of it. So I get to say that as your husband.
Thanks. Yeah. But also, like, all that emotion is always, it's like right under the surface all the time. It doesn't take a lot for me to go there.
Let's talk about casting your husband in the film.
Or not casting your actual husband in the film.
I actually...
I don't know. I'm not bitter.
Are you bitter?
It's fine.
I am curious, though. Was there, in your mind, thought about casting your real husband?
Oh, absolutely. We talked a lot about it.
And how did you end up with Daveed?
Well, I had them both read.
Together.
There was a chemistry test.
Yeah.
It was the massage scene. And no, we talked a lot about it.
We did.
And I think where we landed was like, because it is such a personal story in so many ways, that it does feel a little like gross to be like, isn't our love beautiful? You know?
You need to watch this love story that's about a love so precious and dear and special that it's going to break your heart watching all the tribulations. And we cast ourselves.
And it's like, I know like Puffy Chair didn't have the largest audience in the world, but it's almost like we did it in Puffy Chair. We were in the league together. I would work with Mark all day, every day, if I didn't think people would be like, ugh.
I think I was like number 4 on the cast list. Let's just talk about how it is, you know? I think there was like, if Daveed turned it down, it's probably like 2 more really hot, soulful dudes, and then maybe I would have gotten it. But
we talked. Yeah. The list was long.
Yeah, the list was long.
You were in there. You were in there. Honey, you were in the mix.
But seriously, folks, I mean, we did. I think we look at movies from a available material standpoint. What's the sword that's in your hand? What can you swing right away? And so that element of like, I guess the 2 of us could just go away and make this was attractive to us at a certain point. But I think we did feel like, let's do something different. We've been on screen together before. If we could get somebody who is incredible, who will add a new dimension to the movie, because that's been part of what I've been doing a lot as a creator lately, is like, you know, maybe I don't make every movie with Jay. Maybe I make them with new partners. So half of the art feels like me and half the art feels like something wildly different we would have picked. And that was part of the idea.
I mean, if I'm being completely vulnerable, that was a huge part of it for me as well, of like, I don't want it to always appear like I can only do things with Mark. And we wrote this together, so we're still, our wagons are still hitched, but that's because we're codependent, as we've established. But it was really
fucking locked and we lost the key.
Important to me to step out and show the world that like I can stand on my own. And like there's something that just innately happened with the Puffy Chair of like, I mean, I'm a trained actor. I went to theater school, and yet when Puffy Chair rolled out, they were like, oh, and Mark cast his girlfriend. And I was like, well, I mean, I was the actor. He was the musician when we met. Like, all right. And the sort of the narrative became this thing of like, oh, and Katie got cast. And it was just like, it's all not true, but it's just the way the conversations sort of happen. And so it was for this, this is the first time I said it, and it is vulnerable. Now I'm embarrassed, but like, it is very much like, I did want to say, I want to do this on my own. I want to direct on my own. I don't want to feel like you're in the scene being like, oh, we should do this.
And I wasn't on set. I stayed back with the kids at home, and Katie went away with her team and made the movie. And it was really good for both of us, I think.
How did you go 20 days without her?
Well, it was
so hard.
It was only 11 days.
It was 11 days.
It was only 11
days of our life.
But it was hard. And I think she missed me a lot, but not as much as she missed our dogs.
So. I was going to say, I actually want to bring up the dogs real quick, because I love talking
so
about
right
animals.
Yes.
You have 2 dogs.
We do.
How did you decide on the 2 dogs that you have? Was there a lot of debate between, like, where you're going to adopt them from, like rescue, like how did it all...
As with all dogs, there's tons and tons of debate of why you should, and then all of a sudden there's this moment where you're just like, do it, and it happens very quickly. So we're both rescues. Yeah.
And they both just felt right.
So it seems like our family's now going to be like the 2 dogs that we've rescued, and then space for a potential third rescue to come in, hang with us until we can foster and get them placed. Is the
Or
goal.
like completely fail, and
Or
then we'll have
completely
3
fail.
dogs, and then
Yeah.
we'll say, and then there's space for
Now
a
there's
fourth.
space for a fourth. Yes.
Listen,
well,
I-
once Magic Hour sells for 8 figures, we're going to be able to get a bigger house.
Isn't that gonna
and
be
it's going to be
great?
fine.
I just need acreage, guys.
Right, sure. So I'm almost out of time with you guys. I want to ask a few other things. I'm a fan of Morning Show. You guys, I think, are filming season 4.
We finished season 4.
Oh, well, there we go.
Yeah.
So, what can you tease fans about the series? Because season 3 ended in such a way where you and Alex, Jennifer's character, were, things had happened.
Things had happened. Things happen in season 4. If I
More
say anything,
things?
if I say anything more, I think Apple will somehow like cloud zap me and kill me. I will say that I think we're going to be coming out later this year, but we don't have a release date. But creatively, I'm not, I mean, if I say anything, I'm dead. I'm dead.
But I can confirm.
What?
Things do happen.
Things do happen. Yes, things do happen.
Well, one of the things about the series is, when did you realize, like, oh, wait, this is popular for Apple? Like, this is,
Yeah.
a hit. Because, by the way, getting 4 seasons on anything, and
I-
that is not a cheap show to make.
I realized it as soon as they greenlit season 2, because as someone who comes from the principles of indie filmmaking, while I don't see the budgets of the morning show, I have a sense of what that show costs. And I know that a show like that does not get a second season unless it is putting in astronomical numbers. So I think we have a huge domestic audience, but more importantly, we have this big international audience that just loves to see all the big movie stars in the show. So
And I think Reese and Jen love the show too, and I think that's sort of one of those things where it's like when you have these huge names attached to a show, but they're not fully invested, but those women love it, and so I think that sort of breathes into the material.
I was also going to say that I recently watched another Apple show is coming into the studio tomorrow, and one of the things I commend them on is that, like,
Is it Government Cheese?
It is.
I did 2 episodes later in that season. It's a cool show.
I've seen the first 4 or 5.
I think I'm in 6 and 7
I
or
did-
7.
That would explain why I didn't
Yeah.
know that
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
in
yeah.
it. But like, being honest, it's really good. But the thing that I wanted to address or talk about is, like, all of Apple's shows, just the production design and the production value is like, holy F. Like, they just dropped bank.
The
on
DP
all-
the DP on Government Cheese is extraordinary.
well, they haven't slashed their budgets yet, and they have this wonderful, beautiful store to help subsidize all the losses, which is
Those
by
little
the way,
pocket computers you guys are all carrying around.
It's a form of the socialism I've always wanted. It's just like, let's let the money from the top trickle down and lose it and pay for the arts. It's great. So I'm really happy they're doing what they're doing. If they're watching, I would
Wouldn't
say,
it be so cool if they bought independent films too?
yeah, I'd be
that would be
do that, but also
dip
like
in.
take some shots on some smaller things. Go out and buy a baby reindeer, and go out and buy movies like Magic Hour, because
It's
the
an early
marketplace is
investment.
flooded with expensive things that aren't working, and sometimes these little things light it up. Is that Apple or is that Apple? Maybe that's Apple.
I think
That's
all-
Amazon.
all of them
and
are
that's
Apple.
Netflix. Okay,
Yeah.
Hey, you guys can all take that note. Yeah,
I want to ask you one other thing, which is Hurricana?
Hurricana. Yeah.
Yeah, and which sounds weird and interesting. What can you say?
Here's what I will say, and it's probably controversial, and I shouldn't say it. There's a dark side to independent film. This movie is great, and it's embroiled in weird politics with all the financiers and the producers who are all infighting and being children right now. And I'm hopeful that they will resolve this so this movie can get out. It has an incredible lead performance at the center of it, not mine. An incredible performance by Holly Hunter, and it deserves to be seen. And I'm hoping people will grow up and put it in the world.
Me too. And I've heard this horror story from other people. And it's really unfortunate when people act like children. You know?
It sucks, and not to come full circle, but like, it is part of the reason why, in our collective 25 years or so in this business, that we continue to make things like Magic Hour this way. A lot of people are like, why would you pay for this yourself when you could go out and get money? It's because that potential of that stress and that drag away of your soul points oh my God, it cost me 2 years and a lot of my spirit to make this movie. We don't do that to
And then
ourselves.
you realize you're just battling an ego, and you're like, why?
Well,
What is-
more than that, you have the horror story of, like, Warner Brothers just burying art.
just bury the movie.
yeah, like,
Because
which
it's
is
a great write-off,
Oh, I mean, it's horrific. But
Yeah.
I do want to ask you. You directed something else, Their Town, or
yeah,
Yes.
just picture locked it.
Yeah, I was
actually,
going to say, which I think you wrote.
Mark wrote, and it stars our daughter, our 17-year-old daughter, Aura.
Yeah.
Okay, so for people that don't know anything about it, what do you want to tell people?
It's a great YA story about two teens who for the first time feel seen, and it's a really special.
We wanted to do something that would kind of give dignity to the way we see teenagers, the way that our teenager is, which is not a lot of like slamming doors and I hate you. There's like a deep existential pain to this generation, and they're thoughtful and really interesting. So,
and I think so easily discounted by the older generation. So
in the way that Before Sunrise showed us like what's going on with these people in their early 20s and why they might need to drift for a night, we kind of do that for teenagers with this movie.
I got to wrap, but when do you think people will see it?
Good question.
I mean, my hope,
festivals later
my
this
hope
year
would be later this year at a really
Toronto,
rad
New York?
festival.
that would be cool. Toronto, New York,
Sure.
maybe Sundance, maybe Telluride.
You want to do this in Toronto?
Sure.
Yes.
I'll see you
Did
there.
you?
It's a date.
Did you finance it yourself, or did you get finance?
Always.
Always.
Oh, wow.
Always.
Okay, so I got it. I know.
Not that I'm open to other people's money as well.
We're in full
too, but-
Cassavetes mode right now. Like, the money that Katie and I made on the league that we invested a while back, the money I'm making on the morning show, and shows like Good American Family coming out on Hulu. It's
Robin
as
Hooding
Apple
in a way.
Store is financing their stuff, our
money.
dumb TV money is taking care of all this for us.
Listen, I really want to say how much I enjoyed your film, and I really do hope that people get to see it soon. And
thank you.
Don't spoil the movie, because there's some twists and turns. On that note, have a fantastic South by.
Great seeing you.
Thank you so
as
much.
always.
This is so nice.